Hi, my name is Nigel Wilson, and I'm going to quickly take you through creation of a dilapidation report using Capito. I'm going to show you, however, what the software was originally intended for, and then what we'll do is import the images and we will mark them up for dilapidation report purposes. So here's the original idea. Clipboard capture is turned on, this little red bar appears, and you take screenshots. This is just Alt Print Screen, and again Alt Print Screen, and you'll find in Capito now there are two images. You can obviously have as many as you want. Once you've got those, then you would mark up the various steps in the process. So we'll draw a couple of rectangles here, and we can put text in each of those rectangles just to describe the steps. Move on to the next frame and do the same thing here as well, and you'll see the counter increments to number 3. Okay, so that's the sort of general idea, and then you would publish that out to PowerPoint or Word or HTML or an animated HTML or even to an Outlook format. So now let's do the dilapidation report so you can see how that works. So this time the story is the images are not screenshots, these are photographs, and these were off an iPhone, but it can be pretty much anything of any size that you want, and the product will scale it down based on some settings that you put in a preferences box. So once the images come in, you'll see that they stack on the right hand side of the screen and a large version of it on the left. Across the top you see some drawing tools, and we're going to use those in a second to mark up a couple of these images. I'm not going to do all of them, but just enough so you can see how it works in practice. Then what we're going to do is we're going to divide up the page, divide up the document. We're going to publish it so you can have a look at what the output looks like. So let's do the logical things first. We'll put a heading on the top of the document, and that heading is going to be dilapidation report, dilapidation or condition report, and then we'll move on to the images. So the first image here, we'll have to reorder. So the first image here, there's a dent in this fence here, but the image may be too large. Good enough, so we'll crop it down. So there's a series of tools related to scaling and rotating and cropping the image. So this is obviously the cropping tool, and we will just grab the appropriate area of this page and resize it, and I'll just hit enter and yes, and which will crop that image down to size. Likewise, if you had a landscape that needed to be portrait or a portrait that needed to be landscape, you can rotate the image to get it the way that you want. And then, not surprisingly, you can mark it up with tools such as this. And so you might put a red circle and an arrow as well, just to point out the obvious errors on this or the damage on this side. Now, on the right hand side here you'll see that each frame has the imported name of the image. You can leave that or you can rename that. So we're going to just call this back fence, and in this case perhaps we don't need a great deal of additional text on that to describe it. That's good enough. It's pretty obvious what's going on. And you would do that for each of the images, obviously. Here is an image of, there is some paint damage here. So what we'll do is we'll just highlight the appropriate areas, but in this case we'll put text on the page. So we've got a series of text styles, and you can define your own. And so this is just a standard text box. And so this one here is going to be paint is water damaged. Yes, there is a spell checker. All right. So once that's done, and so I guess you probably get the idea now. You bring in the pictures and you illustrate them and you type the text, and that's kind of what you have to do. I mean, there's a bunch of other tools as well. You may have noticed across the top an opportunity to blur the image as well if there was something secure perhaps that you didn't want to show. All that does is this sort of thing, and then you attach that to the image, and it will become part of the image so that it can't be extracted. We're not going to do that in this case. So for publishing, we're going to use this called the document image report, and we'll set a series of options inside of here, or choose from a series of options inside of here. We'll place the file, the test file, on the desktop in a folder so it's easy to find. And there's as I said, there's a series of options inside of here to help you format this document. There's a Word template that it uses. There's one supplied with the product, but you can certainly use your own. And what that will do is it will make a difference to the way that the Word document appears. And so here's the resultant Word document that we just created. So this was the cropped image in the beginning, and that was the text that we added on top of the frame, and the other ones are intact the way they were before. This is the one that we added that text, and you may have noticed that we added the text on the image itself, but in this output it's actually placed into the Word document so that it's fully editable. It's not glued to the image. The red circle has in fact become part of the image. Alright, so we'll show you one other thing, which is sectioning the document. So we'll close that one and we'll create another one in just a second. And the sectioning the document, we'll put a section just above this point here. This uses this heading frame concept that we used at the beginning of the document. We'll change it and give it a slightly different title. And this is the, we'll just call this side of house, hose, side of house, like so. And then we'll republish the document. Publish, go, test file number 2, and publish. Now the output is obviously a fully editable Word document. The idea, however, is that you do your editing inside of the Capito application. Here we go, side of house. It's divided up the document into sections now, and this is just a word style that's been picked up inside of here. Obviously it doesn't have to be blue with the underline. It can be anything that you want, and you can put it on your own template rather than use the one that comes with the application. Alright, well that's most of the important things related to the dilapidation reports. I will show you one new thing that we've just incorporated into the software, and I'll find an example that might be good for that. There's one towards the beginning that I think might work perfectly. Here it is. Alright, so you've got, and I'll zoom out here, that's Control 0, so you've got a screenshot of an area of a house, and we might need to point something out and show a close-up of it. And so I'm going to do precisely that with an image on image. So this is actually really very simple to do, and I'm going to use this button here called Add Image. So we'll click on Add Image. We'll open up the Windows snipping tool, and I'm going to grab the particular area that I'm after, and that automatically copies it to the clipboard, and so it will paste it onto our picture here. That gives us the opportunity to do something along these lines. So you might actually be able to have a zoomed in part of your picture on the page if you wanted to point out something of particular detail without having to make another frame. Well, if you have any questions, please write to us. We'd love to hear from you. If you'd like to invest in the software, we'd obviously love to support you. I hope this has been worthwhile watching this little video, and we look forward to dealing with you in the future. Thank you. Bye for now.